morning, everyone, and welcome. My name is Dave Romanchuk, and I am the Director of Product here at Revenova. We'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, which is on RevenovaTMS Analytics. I'm joined today by one of our new team members, David Lazar, a new product manager here at Revenova, and also hopefully a familiar face that you all know, Purcell, another one of our stellar product managers. What we're going to go through today is basically a brief overview and somewhat of a deep dive into TMS Analytics, and along the way David and myself will be asking questions, and at the end of the demo and some brief slides we'll get into a Q&A session at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Liam. Take it away, Liam.
Thank you, Dave. Really excited to talk to you all today about TMS Analytics. This is a product that we are really excited to put in your hands. So without further ado, I want to start first by describing sort of the platform that TMS Analytics is built on. I got the chance to show a few customers a sneak preview of TMS Analytics last week, and one of the questions that came up repeatedly was, what platform is the TMS Analytics tool built on? Salesforce has a product called CRM Analytics, and this is their business intelligence tool that is designed to give customers a strong idea of the data in their Salesforce org. And we used that product in building our TMS Analytics tool specifically catered to the logistics world. So without further ado, I want to show you exactly what the TMS Analytics tool looks like. So I will pull up the app here, and I want to take you through TMS Analytics from sort of the life cycle of the data that is flowing out of Revenova and into your TMS Analytics app. So it starts in the data manager. Now, when it comes to accessing all of this data that you have available and using it in dashboards and visualizations for your users, there are a variety of ways that you can pull in that data. And the easiest and simplest one is pulling that data right out of your Revenova org simply by creating a connection using TMS Analytics. Here on the screen, you'll see that I have the SFDC local connection and the associated objects connected, and simply by setting this up, I have the ability to pull data from all of these objects into TMS Analytics and use them to populate some of the dashboards that you'll see in just a minute. Additionally, if you want to pull in data from an external connection, you have a variety of options to do so. Say, for example, your data is stored in an Azure database. You can pull data in from there and use that data in these dashboards. Once the connection is set up, I want to mention that you have the ability to schedule how often the data is synced into TMS Analytics. It's important, obviously, when reporting on data like coming out of your TMS, that it's up to date and accurate. And so we have the ability to schedule down to the minute how often the process should run through your connection and pull in that TMS data. Once the data is in the system, CRM Analytics offers the ability to use recipes to visualize and parse down that data into only what's usable for you. Here you see the recipe that's used in some of our package dashboards in TMS Analytics. And what I'm doing here is taking all of that data that's coming from Revenova, and I'm simplifying it and making it so that once it's on the dashboard, it's easy to understand and it's clearly able to be used. At the end of this recipe, I run a process that creates what's called a data set, and that is exactly what it sounds like. It is the visualized, packaged, cleaned up version of all that data that is now ready to be used in a dashboard. And with that data set created, we can finally get to the dashboards and the power of the TMS Analytics tool. The TMS Analytics app comes with 4 pre-built dashboards, which is important because we understand that the transition from maybe a different business intelligence tool to another might require some time to build dashboards and start to put together some of the visualizations important for your business. So from the moment you install the TMS Analytics app, we have 4 dashboards that we built for you based on what some of our other customers tend to look at in terms of KPIs for their business. The first that you can see here is our business overview dashboard, and this is a glimpse at your customer portfolio. You'll see high-level metrics, a geographic visualization of your portfolio. You can even see a breakdown according to industry and trends according to load volume and average margin. On each of these dashboards, you'll also see a data table similar to this one, which will show you the customer accounts and allow you to sort according to load volume or revenue or cost to find who the largest customer accounts in your business are. And most importantly, you have the ability to further explore that data using TMS Analytics. If, for example, average margin percentage was not important to you, and instead you wanted to add a different metric into the table.
Liam, I have a question on this dashboard here. Are you able to click into the map here to narrow down on some of the data?
Yeah, great question. That's actually one of the coolest things about this TMS Analytics tool. You can filter on these geographic visualizations simply by clicking into the map. So you see that just by clicking on this Reflectix account, I'm now looking at the dashboard from their perspective and seeing only their metrics across all of these charts, which I think is a really powerful way to quickly jump from customer to customer. And furthermore, we have a set of filters on the left side of any of these dashboards, and you can save visualizations based on the customer accounts important to you. So if instead of clicking into the map to filter, you wanted to save a portfolio that you manage as a view for later, you can do that as well. So I have a portfolio that I have saved in here, and now I'm looking at this entire dashboard, again, just from the perspective of my customer accounts.
Very cool.
Liam, I have a question. Do you have the ability to take some of these reports and then compare them to maybe anonymized data from, I don't know, maybe like other analytics providers that you guys work with?
Great question. One way you might do that is by taking some of these reports and dashboards that we have here and then maybe putting it side by side with a dashboard that you create using some external data coming from, again, one of those external sources I mentioned earlier. So you could, for example, say, here's the data I have in Revenova, and here's the way I'm able to visualize it according to the dashboards we've built. And then you could build your own dashboard, which I'll show you in just a little bit, and use external data and sort of compare and contrast the two in the same app within the same tool.
Very cool.
Yeah, great question. The second dashboard here is our carrier dashboard. And this is a view of your carrier network and their performance. And one of the more important metrics in that regard is on-time percentage. Here you see a chart showing the trend of on-time percentage compared to volume over time. Throughout the rest of the dashboard, you can also take a look at the top carriers according to on-time percentage. And right next to the on-time percentage chart, you'll also see a city lane table. And here's why this is cool. If I, for example, was concerned with this Atlanta to Royal Palm Beach, Florida lane, I could click into the table and filter the entire dashboard. And now, right next to my city lane table, I'm seeing the carriers with the highest on-time percentage for that lane, giving me a great idea of who I might call if I have a load on this lane. I can also do things the other way around, filtering to the carriers based on their on-time percentage, and then sort by load volume to see which lanes they run more often than not. Again, this dashboard is intended to give you a good idea of the top performers in your carrier network, but it also gives you the flexibility to use these charts and tables to understand your carrier network even better. The third dashboard we have here is called Lane Analysis, and this is another powerful geographic visualization that we offer in TMS Analytics. You can see here that I have the outbound and inbound load volume broken down by state, and this is showing the load volume across your entire Revenova org. And if, for example, I wanted to take a look at some numbers surrounding maybe a lane from Texas to Illinois, I can click into the outbound map and the inbound map on the Texas and Illinois state logos. And then my data table below will show me which lanes I run on a city-to-state basis across those two states. And for each lane, it'll tell me what the average carrier quote is and what the max and min are. So I have a really strong idea now of what people are paying on some of the more popular lanes across my whole business. Finally, we also have a dashboard called Sales Snapshot. And this will tell you a little bit about your internal sales team and how they're performing. Some of those important metrics include the percentage of loads won, the on-time percentage, and even a component to show you some of the recent loads according to the margin and who the carrier and customer sales reps were on that load. And one thing that's really cool I want to show you on this dashboard is that you have the ability to set notifications for yourself based on some of the KPIs on these dashboards. So if, for example, I wanted an alert when the on-time delivery percentage for my customer salespeople fell to less than 80%. I could send myself a daily email at, let's say, 8 a.m., letting me know that that number is not meeting the expectations that I have and I need to take action. You also have the ability, as I mentioned previously, to save views according to some of the filters that you have in place. So I have a view for the customer sales team that I manage saved in this org. So now I'm looking at their percentage of loads won and their recent load performance, specifically according to the filters that I have in place. So that covers the 4 pre-built dashboards that we have in place for you. And again, keeping this very high level because this is not the end of the solution. We do not intend to capture all of your possible data use cases with these 4 dashboards. Instead, we hope that you use the tool to create your own dashboard quickly and easily using the power of that CRM analytics tool from Salesforce. I'll show you here that I can create a blank dashboard quickly based on that same data set that I showed you previously coming out of Revenova and pushing into these dashboards. I'll jump in here and I'll decide on, for example, a gauge chart. And I can change the formatting according to the things I need to show, change from percentage to number, remove some of the erroneous information. I can even add some conditional formatting to represent which thresholds I consider to be a strong performance and which are a weak performance relative to the customer count of rows or load volume in my org. Again, you have the ability to create these dashboards based on the specific needs of your business in case the 4 that we built don't exactly cover everything you have to offer. So combined with the power of the pre-built dashboards along with the possibilities that CRM Analytics offers in visualization creation, we think that you have the ability to really extract value from your data. But I haven't even showed you the coolest thing yet. And that's that you can take all these dashboards, whether we built it or you did, and drop it on the page layouts throughout the TMS to show your users this important information at the right time. So I'm going to jump into the TMS here and jump to one of my carriers, Mike and Mike Trucking. And I'll jump to the Performance tab. And what I've done here is I took that same dashboard I showed you, that carrier performance dashboard, and I dropped it on this page layout, and I filtered it to the account on which the dashboard is sitting. So now, straight from the carrier account page, I'm seeing their performance as a carrier without navigating to a new tool or opening a new tab. It really speeds up the process of getting answers to customer questions or having informed conversations with your carriers based on this information that you already have available. The last thing I want to show you here is one of the cool, new, and innovative things that Salesforce has to offer, and that comes included in one of the packages with TMS Analytics, and it's called Einstein Prediction Builder. Now, AI is one of the more powerful tools in our industry that has the power to completely disrupt what's going on today. And so I want to show you the Salesforce Einstein Prediction Builder, which is their AI-powered prediction engine. With TMS Analytics, you get the ability to create predictions using the data in your TMS, in Revenova, to then predict things like the on-time percentage of a carrier and whether a load will be delivered on time, or the carrier quote based on a variety of factors surrounding the load, like what time of day it's picking up or which day of the week it's picking up. So you can create these predictions using Salesforce's Einstein Prediction Builder. And while there's no package prediction as part of TMS Analytics, we don't try to create any predictions for you just yet. We hope that you'll use the prediction builder to really start to include AI in your business and at least dip your toes in to something that's really going to be important in the industry as it continues to mature. I'll stop there, guys. Any questions? I really just went through a lot.
Yeah, I think I do have one or two questions that came to mind as you were going through this, Liam. First question that I would ask, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are interested in, is what makes this different from the standard dashboard and reporting tool that comes natively with Salesforce, with the Revenova org?
Yeah, that is a great question. In our mind, the dashboard and reporting tool that Salesforce already offers has the power to really give you some spreadsheets and reports on the data you have in Revenova. You can summarize things like load volume and dive into some of the more specific questions that you have in mind that you are setting out to answer. But with TMS Analytics, you can create powerful visualizations that accomplish two things that the other tool doesn't. Number one, it makes that data really easy to interpret. When you create powerful visualizations like this, you're no longer trying to weed through a spreadsheet to try to come to some conclusion. Instead, you're looking at dashboards that give you a clear answer right away. And again, you can drop those dashboards all over the TMS, so that clear answer is right where it needs to be exactly when you'll have that exact question. The second thing that this tool does that the existing Salesforce package doesn't is it really manages those geographic maps and summarizes geographic data effectively. And that is especially important in the logistics world, as we know. There is a lot of lane data, there's a lot of load to truck ratios across the country. There are things that need to be summarized geographically. And whereas in the past you could do that to some degree, there's really a lot of power in the CRM Analytics product that we leverage here that steps that up quite a bit.
Very cool, very cool. And I think one other maybe specific question that perhaps you were about to get to, but you mentioned in some of the recipe building and just pulling in data to create those recipes, were there certain time limits as to how often you could pull the data into the system to run these? What was that scheduling like?
Yeah, great question. So I will jump back to our data manager. I'll go to our connections first, and I'll go to schedule. And you can see that I can run every 5 minutes at the very least. So up to within the last 5 minutes, your data has been updated, which is lightning fast in the context of the amount of data being pulled out of your TMS.
So it's nearly real time. That's
real
fantastic.
Time. And once the connection is run, your recipe to clean up all of that data can also be scheduled. And this can be scheduled again down to every 5 minutes. It can also be scheduled event-based, based on the local connection syncs. So, hey, recipe, keep an eye out for whenever I pull in new data from Revenova, and when it does, make sure to clean that up before I put it into a dashboard.
So you have the ability to pull the data at a certain cadence with some dashboards different from other data, other dashboards within the TMS?
That's a great question, and one that I think is an important distinction. You have the ability to pull this data out of Revenova, and once all that data is sort of living in TMS Analytics, you do have to run it through the recipe, clean it up a bit, make sure you can use it. And then once it runs through the recipe, it's now a data set. And that data set is what populates those dashboards. So if you wanted one dashboard to update on a different cadence than another, you might have to create two unique recipes. And in order to do that, you really have the same power that we do in creating a recipe. But it does I do think it's important to note that the data set is what's being synced and all that data is what's being pulled in, but the dashboards just use that data in TMS Analytics. Yeah.
Cool. Interesting, and I think I have one other question because the nerd in me is kind of starting to come out with this demo. So you touched on the recipes a little bit. What kind of power do you have with those recipes? Because to me, it almost seems like a fully fledged, powerful ETL tool where you can add, subtract, delete, modify. Does this tool really have all that capability?
It does, and it's really, I've been doing so much deep diving into CRM analytics and into all of this, and I still haven't gotten all the way to the very depths of what can be accomplished. But within recipes, I can tell you that some of the things you're able to do by adding nodes to your recipes are transform your data in a variety of ways. You see this toolbar up here. Each of these represent things you can do to adjust the data in some way and clean it up and make it more usable in your dashboards. You also can even detect sentiments if you need to. So you can push in, for example, a customer review, and potentially using Einstein Prediction Builder, TMS Analytics can decide whether that was a happy review or a angry review, potentially, hopefully fewer of those. But there's really endless possibilities. You can do time series forecasting, and that's just one of the possible nodes that I'm mentioning. I mean, you can, other than transform, you can also filter it, you can aggregate it. Again, using Einstein Discovery, you can create some predictions. You can merge separate pieces of data. So again, I'm grabbing all my data from the stop object and merging it with all my data from the load object, and now I have one concise data set. I mean, you said it, Dave, like this is a powerful ETL tool built right into TMS Analytics. Excellent. If there aren't any additional questions here,
That's it for me.
Very cool.
I want to jump into one of the other really important pieces of this, and that is how this is all licensed and packaged. And that is going to be sort of the details that we have to get into about this TMS Analytics tool. So the licenses that are important when it comes to TMS Analytics include the Studio license and the View-Only User license. So there will be two types of users for TMS Analytics. On one hand, there will be the users who are accessing the Analytics Studio, which is that dashboard builder I showed you. And there are users who won't have access, but who will be viewing these dashboards as you place them throughout the TMS. And there are a few more distinctions that you can obviously get into with a salesperson or with one of us three as you have more questions about TMS Analytics. But at its simplest, I think it's important to note that some users will have the view-only licenses. They won't be creating dashboards, but they'll be using them and creating new explorations and lenses from those dashboards. And on the other side, you'll have a group of users who are creating dashboards, placing them throughout the TMS, actually going to be the ones who are really mining for and cleaning up this data. When it comes to the packages and where or how many of each of those licenses you receive, the first package is called the growth package, and this comes with 5 Studio licenses. You have 5 dashboard builders, and you get 100 million data rows in the data analytics repository. So this is sort of the growth package, gives you just an intro to the TMS Analytics tool. You get 5 users, but the real value is the plus package comes with up to 10 Studio licenses. It also comes with the prediction builder I showed you, which is a foray into AI. And again, for a lot of those companies out there wondering, how do I start to get involved in this AI I keep hearing about? This is a really great way to do that while also grabbing a really valuable tool like TMS Analytics. And you get up to 1 billion rows in the data analytics repository. So you can plug in up to 5 external sources you see here. And in combination with the data coming out of Revenova, you can have up to 1 billion data rows pushing into these dashboards and creating powerful visualizations for your users. And really, that's all I have to show you guys today. I, again, am really excited about this tool, and I know we all are really excited to get your feedback on this and to get you involved. So if you have any questions or if you're interested, please reach out to your Revenova salesperson or just send us an email at sales@Revenova, and we would love to talk to you more. And now I think we should get to some questions from the audience. So please submit your questions in the Q&A. We would love to answer them.
All right, so I will be the moderator for the questions today. So we got a handful that came in throughout the demos. Thank you, Liam. And just as a reminder for everyone, you can continue to submit your questions as we answer these. So if one of our answers sparks your interest on, a topic that is related, feel free to type those out and we'll answer them here. So first question that came in is the data a live connection? So Liam, I know you touched on that. Why don't you go ahead and explain a little bit further?
Yeah, great question. And then apologies, I hit answer live and it just went away. So glad we're getting the chance to answer this question. As I showed there on screen, you can schedule the data to pull out of Revenova up to every 5 minutes, which is crazy given the amount of data you have the opportunity to pull in. So if every 5 minutes I have the very latest, that's really lightning fast. And then I also showed that the recipes, which parse down that data, can be scheduled to run every time the connection runs. So those things are running in step and it's up to 5 minutes. So your dashboards were last updated at the most just 5 minutes ago. So that's as live as it gets.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Liam. Yep. Next question, which seems to be a popular topic around a lot of folks that use this tool and can sometimes cause questions. Question is, what about freight plans? How do freight plans fit into this?
Yeah, that is an excellent distinction to point out. So on a lot of those dashboards, we have the freight plan filter, which allows you to weed out or include loads in freight plans. And the reason we didn't do that by default is because we're trying to be, as I mentioned in the video, especially hands-off on filtering and parsing down the data. We want to give you as much as possible to use. And then you can, using the tool, by default, filter out freight plan loads so as not to sort of deviate some of the numbers off of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and maybe just to kind of springboard off of that a little bit, and I think you mentioned a little bit of it in the demo, but the recipes I think really do give you the power to create specific dashboards if you want that are unique to freight plans. So let's say you wanted to add a freight plan specific dashboard that ignored everything else and just showed you that, or vice versa, where you're, like you mentioned, excluding freight plans entirely from your results. So the tool does really give you the flexibility to do either. Okay, next question here. So are you showing us Tableau is the question.
So that, I think, is a common question we get because Salesforce obviously involved in Tableau. This product has had a variety of names over the years and is now called CRM Analytics, but it is an entirely separate product from Tableau, and for all intents and purposes, completely different from what you're getting when you partner with Tableau.
Right, so some of you might have heard about the analytics platform that Salesforce has had in the past. Like Liam mentioned, I think it went through a handful of different branding steps, but now it is CRM Analytics and it is not Tableau. It's fully on platform here. Okay, next question. Is there a limit to the number of components on the dashboard?
Yeah, there is not a limit that I've run into, but I can absolutely, and Salesforce has a lot of this posted, given that the CRM Analytics product is one that they have put a lot into. So there are a lot of information around the limits and some of the things you can do with CRM Analytics posted out there by Salesforce. But to my knowledge, no limit on the number of components you can add to a single dashboard.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic point just about the platform in general, Liam. As with a lot of the tools and functionality that we as Revenova leverage being built on the platform, there's tons of information out there about CRM analytics in general. So if you're curious and you have questions about the tool itself that you think about later after this demo or in the future, probably 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to find the answer that you're looking for just by a simple Google search. Like I said, tons of online information because this is a native Salesforce platform feature with Revenova face on it, if you will. So definitely a ton of information out there. I'd like to say that we're experts in it at this point, so we know for probably most of the questions that we know the answers to. But yeah, like I said, plenty of information out there should you need more. Okay, next question. Are we able to see the back-end formulas? We are interested in seeing how you calculated the on-time percentage with all of the variables involved.
Yeah, as I mentioned, these 4 pre-built dashboards are not intended to solve all of the data questions you might have. So to answer your question, you are absolutely able to see the back-end formulas that we used as we designed some things like the on-time percentage summaries. You can absolutely change those formulas. You can create new dashboards with your own on-time percentage calculation. You have access to all of the recipes we built to see how we summarized the data. So it's a completely open book. Once it's in your system, it's up to you to customize it any way you see fit.
Excellent, thank you, Liam. Next question, is there a limit on the number of notifications that you can receive?
That is an excellent question, and one that I admittedly do not know the answer to, but I will absolutely chase that down for you. I have not run into any limit on notifications, but if there is one, it must be pretty high. So I will chase that down and let you know.
Okay, next one. We currently use Tableau and have it connected to our Salesforce/Revenova org. What would be the benefit for us to move to TMS Analytics?
Dave alluded to it earlier, but I think one of the big benefits is that the integration, while already fairly seamless between Tableau and Revenova, this I thought as Tableau and Salesforce, this CRM analytics product, in it being integrated with Salesforce, the integration is so seamless. You can place these dashboards on page layouts. You're using the power of all of these cool dashboards you've built throughout the TMS. So the big benefit is you're bringing that analysis tool that you may already have with Tableau on platform even more, and getting, I think, a big step up in terms of the power you have in the integration.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing that we hear a lot, which is, preventing the swivel chair approach to your business, right? You don't want to have to log into Tableau over here, log into Salesforce over here. It's kind of bringing everything under one roof, which is just, more efficient and beneficial for everyone, really. Okay, next question. Why, this is a specific one that made me laugh when it came in. Why does the scorecard say too low in Einstein?
Great question. So that was on the Einstein prediction builder, and within our Revenova org, where we've been using prediction builder, creating some of these concepts for what you are able to do in feeding their Einstein engine with your data and then creating predictions. We've fed quite a bit of data into those predictions, and in doing so, it gives you a score in terms of how potentially accurate this prediction is going to be. And in those tests, just hand in the air, did not update new training data into that prediction. And that's what I think is so cool about it is, hey, I'm out of date. The engine can tell you, like, I'm out of date when it comes to some of the load data you gave me. I need the latest and greatest so that I can tell you exactly what the carrier fault might be or what the chances of this load delivering on time are. So you'll get a score if you create a prediction, and I am sure that your scores will be better than what mine was.
Yeah, and maybe just to dive into that a little bit more. So obviously this is our first step into the TMS analytics space and the Einstein predictions and things like that. Liam has already had several ideas of new things that we can release as a version 2.0 of predictions and things of that nature. So we kind of already have some ideas percolating at the moment about out of the box predictions that we could implement, and leveraging all the AI, the power of AI that Salesforce has introduced with Einstein and things of that nature. So definitely we've had a ton of ideas already, and we're already looking forward to version 2.0. But like I said, this is kind of our first step into it, and we're looking to get further in. Okay, next question here. Is there a list of all of the visualization types available through this package? Ooh.
Yeah, if Salesforce has it out there, off the top of my head, I wouldn't have a link ready for you, but I can check and see if Salesforce has that list posted. And if not, I can always post a screenshot. But boy, the list is endless. There's time series data, there's geographic data, there's your simple charts like just a scatter plot, and then there's your complex calendar summarizations. So the possibilities are endless, and I will see if there's a list out there of just every single thing you can do in terms of visualization.
Yeah, and I'm certain there is. We can definitely find that and post that somewhere. All right, next question. Are we able to bring in data from external sources? So this is a big one.
Absolutely you can. And we think it's one of the big value pieces with TMS Analytics. You have, as I mentioned towards the end there, based on the package you end up going with, you have access to a variety of external sources. You can connect TMS Analytics to those external sources and use them to populate dashboards. Off the top of my head, a few examples are some SQL databases, like if you have your data stored in Azure or Snowflake, or boy, I mean, there's a laundry list. It's just like the number of visualizations. I would never try to memorize it because the list is far too long. But yes, resounding yes is the answer.
Very good. All right, next question. Are there limitations around how many objects you can pull in and around how many recipes can you build?
Great question. The limit to the number of objects you can pull in, I do not believe there is a limit. We have, I think in our TMS package, upwards of maybe a couple hundred objects, and there have been times where I've pulled in all of them. The recipes, that is another question that I will have to get back to you on, because it's, again, a limit that I haven't experienced and run into and haven't seen. But with how much data you're pulling in, I can imagine that at some point there is some latency issues. So I will absolutely check on that. But again, the use that we have in pulling in tons of data in multiple recipes, like I said, I haven't even come close to a limit or seen any lag or lack of speed. So if it's out there, I haven't come anywhere close yet.
And that kind of springboards off to the next question, which is, have you found that any of these analytic components, when added to page layouts, do they slow things down, or are they less taxing or more taxing than perhaps other dashboards?
No, that's what's really been impressive to me, is the filtering and the page layout loading time really largely unaffected. It is so fast, and the changes you make to the dashboard when it's placed on the page layout, it's not like it's loading and going back over to TMS Analytics to check on that and bring in the filtered version. Instead, it's just filter, 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 and your data's right there. So it's really, really quick.
Cool. Okay, next one. Can calculated columns be added within recipes?
Can calculated columns be added within recipes? I think what you're getting at there is maybe like roll-up summaries or some sort of calculations.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes. And I remember I did this with you, so maybe you did it long enough ago that you don't remember, but the short answer is absolutely yes. I mean, it's no different than the ETL, stuff that you have. So you can certainly add columns, like you mentioned, do summarization level fields. But yeah, like I said, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'll mention maybe the reason I don't remember it, the place that I usually do calculations is sort of one more step down the road, where once the recipe pushes all of the data into your dashboard, you have the ability to create calculated fields, change the way that column appears in a table or in a dashboard. So you have another opportunity to do data querying and adjustment in the dashboard builder. So I've done most of it at that point, because I think it's sort of the last step before it appears to the user. But you can do it a step further up the road, as David mentioned.
Excellent. Okay, and then we have 3 questions that are all similarly related, so I'll ask them combined here. The cost associated with the 2 different packages. So I can't recall off the top of my head, but the cost versus the cost of the studio versus the growth package. Do you remember that off the top of your head, Liam?
I think the best resource for that is going to be sales at Revenova or your salesperson. We've fully prepped them for everything coming out with TMS Analytics, and they are ready to have these conversations with you. So I would recommend reaching out to them. Really quick, easy answer for you. So.
Cool. All right, looks like we've had several questions came in related to pricing. Let's see, there's another pricing question. So yeah, kind of like Liam said, reaching out to sales at Revenova, or your friendly neighborhood Revenova sales rep that you work with, feel free to reach out to them. There was one other question related to the different licenses, which is, can you explain once more, Liam, about the differences between the studio licenses and the viewer licenses?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, the studio license is, think of sort of the admin in this case. They're building the dashboards, they're building the recipes, they have access to Analytics Studio where all of the magic happens. They are placing the dashboards on the page layouts in the TMS. They are basically administering all of the TMS Analytics dashboards and all the data analysis pieces. The view-only license is exactly what it sounds like. They have the ability to see the dashboards, use the filters, and that's where their permissions stop. They can't access Analytics Studio, so they're not creating, but they are still, in my mind, getting a lot of value out of the fact that the dashboard is right there in front of them with filters to find a specific answer and the ability to explore, set notifications, things of that nature.
All right, very good. Next one, are there integrations with accounting seed?
Oh, great question. So no direct integration at this time. However, we have our integration with Accounting Seed through Revenova that keeps a lot of the accounting related objects in Revenova up to date on your accounting data. So when you report on objects like billings or payables in TMS Analytics, you're accomplishing largely the same thing. And I'll also mention that with those external connectors, if your accounting data is not on Accounting Seed, or if your Accounting Seed data, for whatever reason, is housed somewhere else, you can plug in that external connector and accomplish the same thing. So a couple of ways to attack it there.
And maybe just to dwell on that question a little bit more, and this is something that you'll be teaching me because I'm not aware. So the objects that are pulled in with TMS Analytics today, I have to imagine it's load, stop. What are the different objects that we pull in to the package today, if you know?
Yeah, by default, it is load, account, equipment type, stop, user, because we need to know who the carrier, customer, sales reps are, and transportation profile. So sort of the core load related or core Revenova related objects that relate to this, it all sort of centers around the load. We're summarizing things according to the load.
Right, so nearly everything that anyone would want to report on.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
cool. All right, very good. Let's see, next one. Can data sets and dashboards be exported?
Data sets, absolutely. Dashboards can be shared. Tables can be exported. Dashboards themselves, I would have to let you know exactly how they can be exported, because they are flexible and movable, and they end up on, again, those page layouts, and you have all this data, so you have the ability to pull it out into a spreadsheet. But the dashboard itself, I'd have to let you know exactly how that can be exported and what format you could have in it.
All right, very good. We got another question related to pricing of growth versus plus. So again, reach out to sales at Revenova or your friendly neighborhood sales rep, and they'll be able to get you the pricing for that. Another question, can dashboards be displayed on the customer and or carrier portals?
Yes, another great question. There are additional licenses I want to mention outside of the view only and the studio license for CRM Analytics customer community or community users. So if you want to show these dashboards to your community users, they need an additional license. And that's another thing you can ask one of us or the salespeople about. It's a little more nitty-gritty details than we should get into here. But long story short, absolutely, you can do some really cool things placing these dashboards on those community pages. And I mean, sneak peek, but we've got some folks going to a trade show in a few weeks presenting on exactly that and showing just how powerful it can be on those page layouts in the community. So stay tuned for that if you're interested.
All right. There's another question out here just about integrated analytics already existing with Tableau and how that's different, or how does it, what does TMS Analytics offer that's different? We kind of touched on that. If you want to reiterate, or I can kind of touch on it. I mean, it's the same question as we talked about before, which is eliminating the need to swivel chair between two systems, two logins, two of everything basically. And so it's that, I'd say primarily, and in addition, this is the on-platform Salesforce recommended solution. So they're only in the, well, I wouldn't say infancy stage, but the CRM analytics platform and module as a whole will only continue to see more and more and more investment into the technology itself. So, I mean, I realize Tableau probably as well, but this is kind of Salesforce's flagship, if you will, from an analytics perspective. So it's something that's kind of future looking that will continue to be developed. I'm not sure if you have anything.
I'll also mention they're licensed a little differently. And so I would encourage you to look into that. Our salespeople are here to help you with that conversation, as are Dave and I and the rest of the product team. But it's licensed a little bit differently in a way I think that would be interesting to folks asking that same question.
Sure. Okay, well, that was a lot of questions, and I think we got through all of them, which is fantastic. So I think we'll wrap up the Q&A here. So on behalf of myself, and I'd like to say thanks, and Liam.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Time. And I believe we'll be posting this on the website, so that'll be out there for viewing pleasure. But as we said, feel free to reach out to Liam or myself, or product@revenova.com for product related questions, and then anything sales related, sales@revenova.com.